Let's look at injuries across the NBA. We're looking at all the teams, looking at all the updates, or the lack of updates in a lot of cases. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and you can also call me Pre Malone. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Be a double banger, the DB squad, video, audio, and then you just add the extra perks on. You thumb it up, you ring a bell, you leave a comment, and of course you hit subscribe. Thank you to everyone who has done that over the course of all of these years that we've been doing it. And I don't know, I woke up this morning feeling emotional. I don't know, emotional is not the right word, but thankful maybe is the correct term. Maybe this would have been a better thing to do New Year's and talk about, all these great things. But what I want to say is that I love doing this show. I love doing all my work, whether it's through social media, Basketball Monster, projections, doing all this show. I love doing all that sort of stuff. And one of the things I always want to do when I do this show is make sure that I am providing quality content. Not going to always get everything right. That's the nature of prognostications, predictions, and projections. You're never going to get it all right. You try and make sure your process is right. But I put in so much work trying to make sure I get as stuff as spot on as I can, do a bunch of research stuff. So a lot of the times you'll hear things mentioned about fantasy. It's because of work that I've been trying to put in, researching on these trends and stats and all that sort of stuff. I try to keep it that all of this information is useful as well as being entertaining. Where am I even going with this? What I want to say is that I will always continue to work on this show, and I will not be outworked by anybody. There might be people who work the same amount as me. That is fine. But if anyone starts working harder than me, then I'm going to up my game to do more and to be better and to produce this show, to provide the most information in the best way, the most entertaining way, and the way to make everyone better and also enjoy this hobby. I don't know why I went on that little speech, but yeah, I'm always going to be committed to working as hard as everybody else and will not let anyone outwork me at what I do. So there you go. Thank you for everyone for supporting me and pushing me to get to make everything always better. That's always what I'm looking to do, make things better and make your time in this hobby better as well. Wow, that was a bit dumb, wasn't it? Anyway, let's look at injuries. We're going to cover all the teams starting at the bottom of the alphabet. Again, I know people get annoyed at injuries killing their roster. There's not as many. There's not that many. It is very, very interesting because the Washington Wizards have nobody on the injury report. The Utah Jazz have nobody on the injury report. The Toronto Raptors, they've got a couple of guys there. There's Christian Coloco's mystery illness. And these dates that I put up here, a lot of them are just pure speculation and we just don't know. I don't know when Coloco's going to be back. I thought he'd be back opening night, but here we are in the almost middle of January and he's still not back from an illness that apparently started in March, COVID. And he's got long COVID apparently, and that's really bad for him. He's just not available. Otto Porter with a knee injury, but this is not a part of the rotation. So that's three teams with no one who really matters. From a fantasy perspective, they all matter to someone in their life, I'm sure. For the San Antonio Spurs, it's Zach Collins dealing with that ankle problem. We've got him returning towards the end of January. At the moment, Dom Barlow is the guy, so deeper leagues he's got value. And when there is a back-to-back coming up, which there is for them, I think, this week, Barlow and Sandro Mamakhalishvili are going to be 12-team streamable options. Barlow is a pretty strong stat stuffer. This team has these unbelievable centers. I know that sounds stupid for a team that's as bad as they are, but Wembanyama, going to be the best player in fantasy next year maybe. Zach Collins, a really good permanent stat-stuffing fantasy guy. Charles Bassey, one of the best permanent fantasy centers that's in the NBA. He's just out with an injury. Don Barlow, a very good permanent producer. Sandro Mamikilishvili, a very good permanent producer. I also reckon, now they don't have him anymore, but they did have him, Charles Bediako would have been that guy as well. But they cut him when he got injured. So they're just full with all these guys that no matter who cycles through, different levels, they all can produce. Sidi Sissoko's dealing with an ankle problem. I think we might see him play towards the end of the season, but I'm pretty certain he's going to have such horrific percentages and low volume counting stats that it won't matter for most leagues. The Kings, they're pretty empty with injuries. They bloody missed Trey Lyles yesterday, though. He's dealing with an ankle problem. From a guy that was almost unwatchable playing in Detroit, he was terrible. They traded him as part of the Marvin Bagley deal, and they didn't have to pay him $40 million guaranteed. He's been so much better. He's been really key for this team. He's pushed guys like Sasha Vezenkov out of the rotation, minimized JaVale McGee and Alex Len, and playing better than Harrison Barnes at times. With him out, they did go to Vezenkov last game. Didn't really matter that much. They got spanked. Lyles is just a deeper league guy who is actually sort of pushing into low-volume 12-team stream sort of territory. The Portland Trailblazers, he's a team with some actual injuries. I've got DeAndre Ayton at the top of that list. I've got a potential return of the 12th of... the 12th of January, but I don't know. They're on this road trip. Apparently somebody saw him in the Newark airport, meaning he is there with the team for their Brooklyn, New York back-to-back or pseudo back-to-back. They play Brooklyn yesterday. They play the Knicks on Tuesday. So he's not going to play on Tuesday, but there is a chance he's back later in the week with the team, so at least he's not at home rehabbing anymore. I know there's a lot of people, and I grabbed him as well, Dwop Reith. I think I've got him in 2 leagues now, but I think a lot of Reith's value has been obviously with Ayton out, but also the fact that Jabari Walker has missed the last 2 games. At this point, I've got Walker listed as questionable for their next game on Tuesday, but we don't have an update there. We did get an update on the C part of Moses Brown. He has a wrist fracture. He's going to be out for a few months. He's honestly not good, and yeah, he's like their 5th string center with Robert Williams, probably more playable than him at the moment. And the other one is Matisse Thybulle, the painter. Missed the last game with a foot sprain, and that also helped a lot of the value that we got out of Dwop Reith, who played 37 minutes last game. All this stuff is really important to know because there are so many trickle-down effects, and it's all really easy to look at, say, Reith played 37 last game and looked great. That was with no Ayton, with no Walker, with no Thybulle, and obviously, no Moses Brown, but that's going to be the thing moving forward. But there is some value in Reith. I don't mind him as an ad. They play Tuesday, Thursday, which is a great schedule combination. And I have added him in a couple. I just don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. He will 100% get converted off that 2-way deal as well, by the way. In Phoenix, we haven't had any update on Kevin Durant, whether he's playing today. If these idiots play him on the back-to-back after the hamstring injury, after playing 36 minutes yesterday, well, they deserve to not make the playoffs. So we'll see what they do. Eric Gordon has missed the last 2 games with knee soreness. We know he's had knee problems his whole career, basically. If he is out, they just pump minutes into guys that don't matter, like Josh Okogie and Bates Diop and those sort of players. Bol has missed. We missed the last game with an ankle problem. He would only really have value if Durant is out. And then there's Nasir Littleface, who has missed 6 straight games. He's dealing with his foot problem, but he's just one of those melange of minimum signing players who don't really matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. It is the new year, and we're all striving, like I said at the start of the show, we're striving to be better at all points in whatever it is in our life, our relationship, our work, our personal growth and development. But sometimes we've got to be really cautious about doing too much. We've all had things that have been better in 2023. We've all had things that have improved. And just building on those little things can be really the key versus trying to make big sweeping changes, which can often be pretty damaging. Therapy can help you find your strengths, ditching the extreme resolutions and building on the little things that you have done right. So if you've been thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It is designed to be convenient and flexible, and it is suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire. They match you up with a therapist that fits the sort of thing that you need to help you in your life. And if that doesn't work out, you just can change therapist, no charge. You might think that sounds stupid. Why would I do that? Isn't the therapist going to get upset? Why would they? But then they'll know that I don't like them. Don't worry about it. A, you don't know them. B, they are used to this. And every therapist you talk to will be like, hey, if we don't get on, see you later. There's no point. I can't get anything professionally out of you if there's no rapport here. You've got to be able to open up. So just switch them and find someone that you like. Really easy stuff. And it's honestly one of the big hurdles in therapy where you feel like you're guilty. You're going there and you're talking and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I should be doing better. But if you don't get on with them, do something else. Find somebody different. Really easy, and BetterHelp allows you to do it. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. NBA. I didn't mean to hit that little subscribe stinger there, but there we are. Let's go through now and look at the next team. We are going to Philadelphia, and there are a few injuries on this list, but all of them are like questionables. We've got Joel Embiid with his knee swelling issue. Obviously, if he misses, we will go to Paul Reed, and these are official questionable tags for Wednesday. These guys all missed on Saturday, and DeAnthony Melton has missed 3 straight. So to get a questionable tag for Wednesday's game at this point is not great. You've got Embiid, Toby Harris, DeAnthony Melton, Bob Covington, who's missed 3 straight now with an illness as well. And there's also Furky from Turkey. He's also missed 3 straight. Furkan Korkmaz with an illness. But they've already got that questionable tag ahead of Wednesday's game. So with 10 games on, it wouldn't be rushing to stream in a Paul Reed or Kelly Oubre. You probably would. You wouldn't be looking at a Batum or a Morris. But you might, depending on how your roster looks on a Wednesday with the 10 games on, you consider that once we get more information. But it doesn't appear like it's anything serious. But Joel Embiid's getting close to the 65-game minimum threshold. I think that this 65-game... Actually, okay. Do you think that the 65-game minimum threshold has led to more players playing this season? I'm not sure that it has. I think it might actually lead to more problems as the season goes on, as players play through and play these half games, or they play through injuries to be able to get these awards, which then leads to worse situations for teams in the playoffs. That's my real worry, because someone like Embiid is getting perilously close, or we get to a situation where players don't worry about this, and then we get MVP as... Who can I think of that's a funny name to win MVP? MVP... I don't know what my funny... Desmond Bain. No offense to Desmond Bain. But, like, the All-NBA second team features Dante DiVincenzo. Like... I do worry there's going to be just like 10 deserving players left out of these things because of shit that they can't control. We'll see. The Orlando Magic. Few injuries here. They've been clean most of the season. Franz Wagner, ankle injury. Uncle? No. Ankle's not a German word as far as I know. I think Franz will be out for the rest of this week. It looked pretty... It didn't look terrible, but... all the reports were like, oh, yeah, he'll miss a little bit of time here with this ankle injury. So I wouldn't be shocked, actually, if it goes through to 2 weeks. But let's rule him out for this week. We've got John Isaac with a hamstring. Let's just write this guy off. Like, it's just not happening. He's been out since the 26th. So he hasn't played since Christmas. And we just don't know when he's coming back. So I'm going to rule him out for this week. Gaz Harris with the calf. That's going to be a couple of weeks. We've got him back on the 19th of January. That's another 2 weeks from here. Jinglin Joe's been out for about 4 weeks with this ankle injury. I think it's actually maybe 3, but it's a long time. He will have an impact on other players when he returns, and then Wendell with missed the last 2 with the knee issue. I think we just add Goga. Wendell with the hand, now the knee, and getting outplayed. We just roll with Goga, pretty simple. With Franz out, Caleb Houston has been good 2 of the last 3 games. He looks like a much better option to me than Chuma Okeke. The fact that they play guys like Trevelyan Queen over Mr. Black is not ideal. I think we look at Houston as a potential ad. They play Tuesday, Friday, so it's not the best schedule, but you could have a look at Caleb there on the Tuesday, and Goga's the more priority guy. But yeah, we'd like some. They are pretty shitty updates, this team, we know this. I'd love some sort of update on Isaac, and Ingles helps me in doing projections, being able to know, because if Isaac and Ingles play, then those minutes for Okeke, those minutes for Houston are just not there. They just don't exist as much, but we don't know that. The Thunder, they've been awesome this season. I put a bet on them to win the title about 4 weeks ago and got them at like, I'm going to say 25-1. I think they're into 18-1 now, so I'm loving that. But part of the reason they've been so good is that no one's been hurt all season. How many times have I done this thing and injuries? None. They just haven't had anyone injured at all. And the same goes with Minnesota as well. And the same goes with this team. They've been, apart from Mitchell Robinson, who we know is done for the season most likely, the Knicks have also been pretty clean, and they're currently sitting clean with injuries. I'm not including guys who have already ruled out for the season, like Mitchell Robinson, who's on this list. For the New Orleans Pelicans, the biggest bird, Zion Williamson, missed the last game with a leg contusion. It doesn't appear to be anything serious, but with this guy, slow healing legend, Zion, who knows? They started Trey Murphy in his place. He's obviously not healthy. He's still ramping up from this knee surgery. This might take a little bit of time. I still recommend holding Trey, but he's the guy with Zion out. You've got Matt Ryan, who's going to be out to the end of the month. He won't be a rotation piece. And then Jose Alvarado, if he is out, then we do really fire up our Dyson Daniels because he played, 29 minutes last game. And in fact, Daniels has played 24, 26, and 29 the last 3 games. One of those was without Zion and Jose. Another one was half a game of Zion. And the other one was without Trey Murphy. So he's always seems to be this guy. Someone gets hurt, Dyson steps up. And that puts him at least onto the deeper league radar for us, especially when you're looking for steals and assists. I said the Timberwolves have been clean. There was a little bit of a scare there at one point for Towns. We had McDaniels injured, but recently they've been pretty good. Jalen Clark, the Achilles injury, 2-way player, second-round pick. He's not going to be a part of much on this team. The Milwaukee Bucks, I'd love to have gotten a little bit of extra detail on this, but we don't have any idea. Damian Lillard is out for Monday. Personal reasons, they're back playing again on Thursday. I hope that everything's okay. We know he's dealing with personal stuff in his family off the court. Him and Cam Payne both out. I would think that there is a chance that Payne is able to get out of the concussion protocol for Thursday's game, but it also might not matter. Lillard might be returning then. Jay Crowder should be looking to be back maybe next week. We've got him on the 17th of January as a return, and we're not going to care too much about him from a fantasy perspective, apart from the further impact it has on someone like Leaky Beasley and Bob Portis, who then definitely become 12-team drops. For the short term without Lillard, it's really hard to know. I think they'll probably give more minutes to Beauchamp and Jackson, and then maybe get a little bit extra into someone like AJ Green. As of me recording this, they have not recalled Ty Washington from the G League, and Lindell Wigginton also they're still in the G League, so they're not going to be playing. As I forgot to bring the Bucks screen across to show you that. Wigginton and Washington aren't going to be playing in this game on Monday. Let's talk the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler, general soreness, foot issue. It continues to be really frustrating. Lying legend Bernie Lee, his agent came out and said there's no long-term thing. It's only a short-term thing, which it's very clearly bullshit. He came back after a 4-game calf absence, played 23 minutes, hurt his foot. He's now missed 3 straight. He's going to miss his 4th straight on Monday. I will guess that he won't play on Wednesday. I would suggest that Jimmy Butler, they go Wednesday, Friday, then a Sunday, Monday back-to-back. I'd be out of those... He's out Monday. So out of the next 4 games, I'd be shocked if he played 1. I'd be pretty shocked. He played maximum 1 is what I think. I currently have him returning on the 12th of January, which is the Friday. But it's really hard for me to just say, well, old, banged up, agent's lying, let's rule you out for 3 weeks. That's what I feel in my gut. I don't think he's going to be there. But I have nothing to base that on in terms of doing projections over at Basketball Monster. So when you go and see the date and the data put up here, that's what it is. But I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back this week. And that keeps floating the value of Jaime Jaquez. It keeps the value of Duncan Robinson up. Caleb Martin, it's been 2 weeks now since he sprained his ankle on Christmas Day. He's been listed doubtful for every game. Shout out to Charlotte. And that's pissing me off. Why does it piss you off, Josh? Because it's just ridiculous. He's very clearly not doubtful if he's missing every single game. It impacts so many partners of the NBA, betting daily fantasy partners. I actually don't care about that part of it. It's more just the lack of transparency and the lying. And the Heat used to do this. This is what I think happens. The Heat did this last season where they would list 8 players probable. Everyone would be listed probable and they'd play every game. And they did that for a big stretch of time because I feel like they got dinged for not giving injury reports. And then they listed everybody as probable. And then the league said, bro, come on, what are you doing? And then they stopped doing that. And now they're doing this. They're always trying to sneak something through. And I think that might have happened to Charlotte as well. I'm waiting for it to happen to the Lakers with LeBron and AD, but maybe it won't. We will find out. Kyle Lowry's popped up on the injury report as probable with a head illness. Now, I believe that he suffers from migraines. I could be wrong on that. But that was what I would assume a head illness is, but I don't know. So he's listed probable, so I think he's going to play. And he's been sort of sneaky back-end valuable, I guess, if you care about that sort of stuff. What a description that is. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL regular season is done. The Dolphins choked away an opportunity, and now we have to take on the Chiefs in the wildcard week. And let's extend it out to 40 years since we've won a playoff game. It's actually 30, but still, what do I know or care? I'm done and my life is over. But there is still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. You can go and check out all the different functions there. They've got their live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. Plus, they've got, of course, the Parlay Hub. So maybe you want to throw a parlay onto the Houston Texans to win the Super Bowl and maybe Lamar Jackson MVP. At least one of those things is going to happen. But you can do whatever parlays you want in there. You can post your parlays. You can check other people's parlays that they have provided on the Parlay Hub over on FanDuel. And you can also go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Let's just roll through the rest of these teams now. The Memphis Grizzlies' last game, Ja Morant was out, sort of came out of nowhere with a shoulder issue. He was seen on the sidelines with his arm in a sling. Hopefully that's just one of those things that, hey, you just hurt your foot, let's put it in a boot and everything's all right. But it's not great. They play on Tuesday. If he is out, the Marcus Smart value bumps. Vince Williams value bumps. But how do I trust this rotation? The answer is I don't, because it's obviously all over the shop, especially with the big men. Brandon Clark, we're looking at post-All-Star for him, and then it's going to be limited. Do not add him, do not stash him. And then Derrick Rose, unfortunately for Derrick. Something happens to his lower body, to his muscles, and they just say week to week, so they just know the guy's cooked and he can't do it anymore. And with Ja back, he doesn't really need to play. He's got a thigh problem now, and we're going to just put him out until basically towards the end of January. For the Lakers, I'm not going to fall for their bullshit. I'm not going to stick Anthony Davis on here with a groin ankle problem and list him probable. I'm not going to put LeBron on here with an ankle problem and put him questionable when I know that damn well they're going to play 95% of the time. We got Rui Hachimura where they said it was a day-to-day situation. We are now 8 days from that day-to-day injury, so lying. It's always hard to go against it, but calf strain, it's time, man. That's weeks. So that's initially what I put it down. And I'm trying to get better at this in trying to project injuries out and not fall as much for the bullshit that gets put out there. Sometimes it's hard. And we're going to talk about that when we get to Detroit later on. But this one was very obvious that Rui was going to miss this time. At the moment, I've got him out, maybe returning on Thursday the 11th. But if he missed the rest of this week, I wouldn't be surprised. Gabe Vincent's out for a long time with that knee surgery. He's out till after the All-Star break. I do believe there are two players I believe that are almost... Now... Let's talk trades. Tangent. I'm someone, if you ask me, is someone going to get traded, I'm going to say no, because the majority of the time, that's how it works. We are getting close to trade deadline. I will do some sort of show a week or so before the trade deadline talking about some stashes. I think stashing 4 weeks out is not a good idea. It doesn't usually work out, and there's just too many uncertainties. But if I'm going to tell you there's two guys I think are going to get traded, one of them is D'Angelo Russell, and two is DeJounte Murray. Yes, you could throw Zach LaVine in there maybe, but the market's not there for him. Although we'll talk about him later on as well. Russell is gone. He's gone. And everything, and I have actually heard about DeJounte Murray from sources. I don't have many. I have some. A couple. Not many. But I have heard on DeJounte Murray that he is gone. Where to? No idea. But he is done. So they're the two players that I think are getting traded. Now you're going to ask me, well, who benefits? Always think of it this way. A player leaves, somebody else comes back. There's no point looking, well, if DeJounte goes, that means all this usage goes to these players. There are going to be other guys coming back, and then there's other dominoes. Does Bogdan move? Does Capella move? Does Kobe Buffkin get elevated? Maybe, possibly. Maybe. All that sort of stuff. D'Lo, someone else would definitely come in. So all I know at this point is that if I had to put money on two guys getting traded, it's D'Lo and it is DeJounte. All that is to say that Gabe Vincent's injured. And he was the guy that when he was signed, I thought, he might actually end up being better for this team than what Russell is. He shot horribly. He's got a knee injury. Not sure how much he's going to play this season. We'll find out. Yeah, what a tangent that was. Useless tangent. The Clippers, currently healthy, apart from Moussa Diabate, who's got a hand issue. He's not a part of the rotation anyway. They're on a back-to-back Monday. I expect Kawhi plays. Good news. The Pacers. Not really much clarification on this team. 3 blokes currently questionable. I'm annoyed that Bruce Brown is back to being questionable. He came back, played Wednesday, played Friday, sat on Saturday, which I thought, okay, that was a back-to-back, and now they're listing him questionable again. That's not good. I would have thought they would have said, yeah, he's fine, he's ready to go. That might mean to me the knee is still a problem. We are not rostering Bruce as a must-roster guy in 12s. Get that garbage out of here! But the fact that both him and Nembhard are both questionable puts so much doubt on what happens with Hield, what happens with Mathurin, what happens with Neesmith, what happens with McConnell. Because all their values could be all over the shop. Someone left a comment on one of my shows saying, Josh, why do you talk about Neesmith so much when Mathurin's been better? He hasn't, at all. But there is that mentality. If you score more points, you're better. especially if you're in a category league, get that out of your head. In a points league, maybe actually, you know what? Maybe that man, that gentleman, and I know it was a gentleman because there are 4 women that listen to the show. Shout out to you 4 women who are Angela, Yuri. I'm sure there's Emma. I'm sure there's a couple others, but there's not many. But if we have a look at what those guys actually average points wise, fantasy points, maybe it is closer, but it is. I feel myself going tangenty again here. It is really important to be aware of the bias that the biggest number in a box score has for someone's overall value. Let's have a look. They're actually basically about the same for fantasy points. 25 fantasy points for Neesmith, 25 for Mathurin over the last 2 weeks. But for category leagues, it's like a 50-spot difference in favour of Neesmith. Anyway, but that value all changes with Brown and Nembhard in or out. More so for what Mathurin and Heel do and Nembhard versus Neesmith, who feels relatively secure. Isaiah Jackson also has some sort of small fracture through his finger. His minutes had reduced the last couple of games as Miles Turner's been playing a little bit more. In Houston, Tari this season, maybe Tari next season, the leg is causing a real problem here. We had this stress reaction at the start of the season. He missed a bunch of time. He came back, and the soreness is clearly there. He has now missed 3 consecutive games due to this issue. He's been on a minutes limit. He's going to be out Monday. I would suggest that they've got 3 more games this week, including a back-to-back. I'd say he might play. Maybe he plays 1. And given the fact that it is a flare-up of a notorious injury problem, remember Cade Cunningham had this, and to get rid of it, you need surgery, which Tari did not have. I'm not suggesting he's going to get surgery, but just remember that. The guys in front of him, Brooks, Smith, Green, limits his overall upside. If you wanted to move on from Eason, we're getting to that stage where it looks like we might do that. Dylan Brooks is probably still out for another week or so. I've got him back on the 17th of January, so about a week and a half without a bleak issue. He was a interesting streaming sort of a guy. For the Warriors, Draymond's suspension is over, but he's obviously not fit and healthy and ready to return because he wasn't in the facility, he wasn't working out, and he's not going to be ready to go. We've got him coming back on the Saturday of the back-to-back at the end of this week. Maybe he returns on the Friday. I'm not sure. Is he worth a pickup? Probably. Probably not as much in points leagues. Category leagues, it's really going to depend on how your build is, and then we'll have to see how that impacts everybody else. But with Chris Paul and Gary Payton out, Paul is out until the 10th of February, and Payton with a hammy out until about the start of February. Both of those guys being out means that we can still retain value for Kuminga, for Podziemski, even a little bit for Jackson Davis, because Wiggins is shit. We know that. Looney's not very good. So Draymond can just come and take Chris Paul's minutes and move things around. So don't make moves to drop Podziemski or Jackson Davis or Kuminga yet until we figure out what is going on with that rotation and whatever's going on with that team in general. I waited. I wanted to see if we got information on Cade Cunningham to see if we get some sort of update from the team. We did not. Again, people ask the question, well, how bad was it? Nothing happened. And that's not to downplay the injury. There was no someone fell into his knee, he jumped up and it twisted. There was nothing. We just saw him a couple of times sort of flex it and grimace and, okay, that's a bit sore. But we never saw anything happen. They labeled it a knee strain, which involves muscles around the knee, not ligaments, not ACL, not MCL, not PCL. It doesn't involve any of those things. What technically, which is what we have to worry about, what a strain technically can relate to is a patella tendon. And that's terrible. If it's a patella tendon injury, that's really bad. I don't think that's what it would be, but that's months. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's just some sort of small tweak of the top of the tendon of the muscle at the top of his thigh or something, and he misses maybe a day or two. At this point, all I'm doing is listing him doubtful for their next game, but this is a team that is quite poor in terms of giving updates. Well, Monte Morris, anyone heard anything about him who hasn't played a game this season? I've pushed him back to like the 15th of January for a return. No. Isaiah Stewart's out until about the 12th with a toe injury, but I can't not be worried about Cade because I just don't know. But it's not like I saw an MCL where it's 8 weeks. I saw an ACL where it's a year. I didn't see any of that, nothing like that. It was like, something's tweaked in there, and it's strain, not sprain, which means it's not ligament related. But if it's a patella tendon, that is a real problem. So just need to be cautious on that. For the Nuggets, we have got old mate Julian Strawther and Dr. Michael Malone diagnosed it and told us that he would be out a little while. So we're putting him out until about the start of February with his knee issue. He was a part of the rotation. He was getting like 9-10 minutes a night, but that'll just push into guys like Najee. They've even got Braxton Key in their last game for some reason. Justin Holiday, Christian Brown, they can just take on those minutes. It's not a big deal. For the Mavs, no update here on Derek Lively, unfortunately. He's missed the last couple. It's why it was always ridiculous that they labelled him questionable for that game on Friday. He re-sprained the ankle last Wednesday. I would have said 2 weeks initially, but, they dicked us and said questionable. I'm going to say that he's doubtful for Tuesday, but that is speculation on my part. And then we go to Dante Exum with that foot plant. They said a heel contusion initially. Now they're calling it a plantar fascia sprain. So he's missed 3 in a row, Dante. I'm going to say he's doubtful for Tuesday as well, which means that Dwight Powell is a deeper league guy and Derek Jones Jr. gets that little bit of a bump, enough to be a 12-team league option. We haven't heard jack shit on Muxie Kleber on his toe, so I'll say he's out for the rest of this week. I think that Muxie might be cooked. For the Cavs, Darius Garland, we're still looking towards an end of January return. We haven't heard an update there. We don't really need to hear an update because they told us 4 weeks and we're still rolling around that timeline. There's no need for an update there. Same with Evan Mobley, who we're looking around about an all-star break return from his knee. No need for an update. Everything seems to be going along normally. The biggest sell high of all time is Jarrett Allen, and you just got to make sure you pull off the right timing to execute that. One thing they haven't told us about is old Milk, Ty Jerome, who's had an ankle injury since about the second game of the season and just has never played. I don't know what the actual injury is. What did he do? Is it broken? Is it a grade 3 sprain? It has to be at this point. But we just haven't heard anything about Milk's ankle, unfortunately. For those of you who are big into dairy products. For the Chicago Bulls, Alex Caruso is listed questionable for today's game with a back issue. They're actually calling it cervical soreness, so real pain in his cervix. Pat Williams dealing with ankle soreness. He's questionable. Williams did not practice, but I believe Caruso did. But they don't appear to be long-term things. They listed Vooch as probable with an adductor issue, but let's talk about the other ones. Torrey Craig is out with a plantar fascia issue. That's probably all-star breaks situation. And Honorable Batim with a nose fracture. He's out, let's say, the rest of this week. Will he even play a single second in the NBA? I don't know. But the other one is Zach LaVine, who they had as probable yesterday, and they've downgraded to questionable, and not with foot soreness. Have they made up another fake injury to keep him out until he's traded? I'm not a conspiracy guy like that at all. But now he's got shoulder soreness? Bruh. Came back for one game, and now he's questionable to play with shoulder soreness 2 days later. Yeah. That smells. That is not good. We'll see where that goes, but a probable to questionable downgrade with no games in between is not a very good sign for his availability. Here's a team that has injuries that we know nothing about. LaMelo Ball and we were supposed to get an update about 4 weeks ago. We still have nothing. How long has this been now for LaMelo to be out? I've ruled him out until, let's say, at least Friday. LaMelo Ball was injured on the 26th of November. That we thought he'd miss a couple of weeks. Cool. We are, 6-7 weeks into it now? No. Anyone know what the injury is? It's an ankle sprain. Is it a grade 1, a grade 2, a grade 3? Anyone want to tell us about it? What's the likely prognosis? No, because this dumpster shit franchise is disgusting and has a terrible reputation around the NBA. They'll be perennial losers even after changing ownership because Jordan is still there and he's a bad owner, and they continue to make their players feel like shit and put undue pressure on them. Now, doubtful legend Mark Williams, who was injured on the 11th of December with that back issue, and they listed him doubtful all the way through, now it's like, he's actually got no timetable to return. Thank you. Did you not know that 6 weeks ago when you listed him doubtful? Just a putrid franchise who deserves to lose continually, and the fans deserve better. As for what do you do with Mark Williams? Well, I don't know what the injury is. Is it actually a back contusion? Has he got a spinal fracture? Has he pulled muscles? Has he got a pinched nerve? I don't know. And what does no timetable to return mean? Well, their words mean nothing. So who knows? We're going to rule Williams out for the rest of this week. So if you wanted to move on from him, we're at the stage where I think you should, because this back problem could just linger. And that is, again, part of the issue. We're trying to figure out what the hell they mean. Even if they said he's doubtful to return, but this is the problem, we could say, well, I know what this means. But I don't know what it means. I don't know what any of this means. I don't know what this injury is. No idea. Gordon Hayward, calf strain, that was an easy one. They were never going to tell us, but he had a calf strain, so that's 2 to 3 weeks easy. So we've got him ruled out until the 20th of January. It might be a little bit longer, but once you hear calf strain, I can override their nonsense easy. PJ Washington hurt his ankle. Well, actually, don't know how long this one's going to be either. He's ruled out for Monday. Let's say he could return Wednesday, but I think it's probably safer to assume that he won't be here for the rest of the week. Frank Ntilikina, any updates on him? Of course not. Why would we get an update on him? He's just been out all season with a leg fracture. They're still holding on to him, Probably could have cut him and got someone else in to help at guard at some point, but no, why would you do that? So Frankie's back until maybe the middle of January, but I don't know. By then, will anyone care? Does anyone care now? No. And then Cody Martin popped up with a groin strain. Cool. I guess playing the man on back-to-backs with a 2-year history of knee injuries, any chance it would overload any of his other muscles? I don't know. Who knows? He only played 33 minutes on that second night of the back-to-back and then backed up and played 36 the next game. Probably didn't do anything. Probably totally okay. So Cody Martin could be out as well. That's going to lead to more minutes for Brandon Miller, and he's probably not going to do anything in them because that's been the case all season. And then you're going to get a lot of Bryce McGowans. You're going to get some Nick Smith, who is a name to watch for later in this season. But yeah, I'm sick of talking about this absolutely diarrhea water franchise. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Ben Simmons. Any updates on him? Absolutely not. He's going to be only 3 days, Bernie Lee says. 3 games. All right, that was what, months ago? You should have dropped him at the middle of November, Ben Simmons. I wouldn't bother holding him now. He's doing some workouts to come back. Just move on. Just move on. Once you hear that he's playing, do it. Who cares? Add him then. Day'Ron Sharpe, all we know from him is that he's not traveling on the initial flight over to Paris. But if the MRI results are okay, he will. I would suggest the MRI results will say there's no chance that he's flying across. It did not look good. And at this stage, I would rule him out for 3 weeks. I haven't, because I'm just waiting on that update, but my estimation would be that. That means they'll play a little bit of Dorian Finney-Smith at centre. You get a little bit of a boost for Trent Watford. You might get some Harry Giles in there. I would hope you get some Noah Clowney in there, because I actually like Clowney long-term. He's super, super young as well. But in terms of us for fantasy, you look at a bit of Watford for like a 16-team, maybe 14-team leaguer, and just watch to see what they do with Giles. The other thing is you just get, hopefully, more minutes pumped into Big Nick Claxton. They're another team to watch for trades, by the way. Not as confident on anyone getting moved, but I could see Spencer Dinwiddie. I could maybe see Claxton. I don't know. He's an unrestricted free agent. For the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum is out tonight with the ankle management issue. He sprained that a few weeks ago back in Sacramento. I think it was Sacramento. Oh, no, he missed the game in Sacramento. So he's out on Monday. He should be back for the next one. Sammy Hauser is out on Monday. He should return pretty soon as well with a shoulder issue. Not too many worries there, thankfully. And then for the Atlanta Hawks, the last team that we look at, DeAndre Hunter dealing with a knee problem. He's back maybe across the weekend there. Muhammad Gay out for a few more weeks. Vic Krejci's got a shoulder issue. He's questionable. And then Garrison Matthews hurt his ankle last game. I would expect a couple of weeks there for Gary. But we haven't heard an update on that yet. And that is probably my most favorite phrase. We have not heard an update. I will get back to you on more stuff in the daily recap show later today if we hear news on Cade Cunningham. But I don't even know if I mentioned this. I would prioritize Ivy, Hayes, Burks, Sasser. Sasser for deeper leagues. But Ivy, Hayes, Burks could all be 12-team league guys with Cade out. That's how I'm looking at that situation. Guys, that'll do it for us here today. Don't forget, be a double banger. Listen to both the audio and watch the video. Hit the thumbs up, ring the bell, leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.